The following is a collection of thoughts, memories, and farewells of the boy to himself as he embarks on a new adventure. Some would consider this a coming-of-age story. However, for the boy, there was still so much unknown, and we will leave it at that.
Chaos is the first emotion that comes to mind when I bring up this past year. However, I also found it quite peaceful. How much do you remember what you did this year? Or rather, how much do you remember what you did for your whole life? All these memories, they come in fragments. Small shards of glass of everlasting dissonance from a broken window during the winter time. You can only catch a glimpse of whatever happened through a frosty, blurred image, with the mind filling in whatever details you can't recall. A feeble attempt at sharpening the image, no matter how hard you try. Human memory fails us, as it almost usually does. The brain is not used for remembering. That's what notebooks are for. The brain is actually used and optimized for thinking, making decisions, swimming in its own imagination when coming up with ideas. It's not a hard drive, like how we so erroneously describe it most of the time. It's a processor. It fills me with so much sorrow at times when I know I experienced some overwhelming emotion that was so visceral, so enveloping, be it elation, anger, or sadness. But I just can't draw back that experience to be felt again, right in the bones. Everything seems to be dragged into oblivion, to the quotidian humdrum of our existence, washed and eroded into indifference, as if nothing really happened. John Harrison so eloquently put it, memory commits you to the nuance, the fog. If you act on memory, you commit yourself on the basis of echoes, unpredictable, faint, fading even, as they were generated. No basis on which to inch out your life, and yet all you have, if you map the contours of that nuance. I think it succeeds beautifully, even amongst others. I don't spend much time with people anymore, and oftentimes I settle on their old selves. Even though I know they map the contours of their life, somehow I feel close to that terrain, as if the uniqueness of their own revelation unlocks something universal. Even as memories are fleeting, fallible, and flawed, that doesn't mean they're worthless. Instead, they're all we have. One of the most valuable things we have, living and breathing only when we live and breathe. The mind is made up of language, but it's not always or even usually lucid language. Mostly, it's a vast reservoir of gibberish. Here and there, a concrete image leaps to the front. A moment, seemingly at random. Maybe it happened, maybe not exactly that way. Sometimes I play out conversations I want to have with people in my head, and then when I'm around those people, I say nothing, because I've already had that conversation. I feel like I'm just saying lines, curated forms of my actual thoughts made to be presented for other people. I feel that. I feel completely disconnected from people. I can express my thoughts when I'm alone, but I'll never be able to communicate in the same way to another person. It's terribly isolating, but as someone with an introverted disposition, I accept it.